Hi everyone, and welcome to Youth Arts Week 2020 with the City of Thunder Bay. For a full schedule of virtual programming, head over to youthweektbay.ca. I'm Jennifer Riley of Cake. I'm an artist and business owner located here in Thunder Bay, and I am so excited that you are joining me today to learn how to make unicorn cupcakes. Now, let's get started. The materials you will need are spatulas, some bowls, buttercream, cupcakes of your choice, a rolling pin, a paintbrush, a cup with a little bit of water in it, some gel food coloring, a paring knife, some gold paint, some piping tips, some practice sheets, piping bags, fondant, cornstarch, some toothpicks, and a small square cutter. The first step to making our unicorn cupcakes is how to make the unicorn horn. So we'll be making the unicorn horn out of fondant, but some other tools that you need for this step are a rolling pin, paintbrush, some cornstarch, a little bit of water, a toothpick, and a paring knife. So before I even start kneading the fondant, I always take a little piece off, because no matter how clean your hands are, fondant likes to pick up lint and dust. So I always put it in the palm of my hand, and I just roll it, and this helps get off all the lint that you thought wasn't there. Okay, and then I just throw that piece out. So just get organized. So this is cornstarch, and cornstarch helps the fondant from not sticking to the table. Okay, so we don't need to use a lot. If we use too much, the fondant will dry out, but if we use too little, it'll start sticking. So we kind of have to find that happy medium. Okay, so once the cornstarch is on the table, that's about good. Okay, so when you first get your fondant, you want to knead it. So I take the palm of my hands and I knead it in. Okay, this will help the fondant be softer and it'll be easier to work with. For those of you who haven't worked with fondant before, just think of it as Play-Doh of that sort. Okay, so you want it kind of like this texture, so when you spread it, it doesn't crack. Okay, so that's good. So I'm going to roll it into a little ball, and that's too much. So I'm going to cut it in half and roll it again. So you don't need too much for the first step of the unicorn horn. Okay, so maybe about that much. So then I take the palm of my hands and I roll it, almost like a log or a sausage at that point. From there, I pinch the sides with my fingers, and I take these two fingers and I just gently make a point. Okay, so each side. Okay, and then I'll roll it a little bit more in my hands, and then I'll place it on the table. So when you're rolling the fondant back and forth, you want to use this part of your hand, and you don't need a lot of pressure. So basically just a little bit of pressure and let the table do the work. Okay, so we're just going to keep rolling it until we get it to the length that we want it. You can use it with one hand, you can use it with two hands, whatever's comfortable for you. Sometimes it takes a little while to get used to fondant, so if you want to play around with it first before you attempt your first unicorn horn, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay. See how my ends are still pointed? Okay, so I can keep rolling it. No, I guess we don't need the rolling pin for this point. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're going to take these two ends and we're going to fold them together. Okay, we're going to, like so. We'll make it as even as possible. And then we're going to take the top and the bottom and we're going to twist. Okay. If you find your fondant's not sticking together, we can use a little bit of water. You don't want to use too much because the water will make the fondant sticky, but we want to use just enough to make that fondant stick together. Like so. Okay, once we are done that part, I take my paring knife and I cut off the excess part. By doing that, it helps blend the bottoms together and keep it together more. Okay. The next step is our toothpick. We're going to add a little bit of water, not a lot. And we're going to take our toothpick and stick it into the bottom of our unicorn horn. Okay, you want to be very careful with doing this. Sometimes it comes untwisted and that's okay, you can just twist it back up. And you want to go about halfway in with a toothpick. This will add some stability for when we stick it into our cupcake. Okay, fondant does need a little bit of drying time, so we're going to place this aside and I'll show you how to paint it later. Okay, so the next step is how to do the ears. So we need our square cutter. And again, we don't need too much fondant. Okay. Probably put a little bit more cornstarch down. Okay, so then I take the palm of my hand and I flatten it. Okay, and I take my rolling pin and I just roll it back and forth. Almost like you're rolling pie dough or Play-Doh. Okay, until you get the thickness that you want. That seems about the right thickness. So you want it about that thick. Okay, so then I take my square cutter and I make a square. So I turn the square into a diamond and I take my paring knife and I cut from corner to corner. Okay, so now you have two. Now in order for these to stick, we need to add a little bit of water. Not too much, just a little bit along the edge. Okay, we're going to pick it up and we're going to take this corner and put them together. Like so. And then we're going to take this corner and put those together. And I like to pinch the excess fondant. It just helps it stick together better. And there you have it. There's one ear. I'll do the other one just so you can see it again. So one corner, the other corner, stick them together just gently. This corner, and you stick it together. And then just a little bit of a pinch. And there you go. I like to cut off just the excess fondant. You don't have to, but I like to. Okay, and because these ears are so small, we don't need a toothpick to go in. If I was making a larger ear, say for a cake, I would definitely be using a toothpick or a dowel depending on the size. Okay, so I'm going to place these aside and they'll be dry for our last tutorial. The next step to our unicorn cupcakes is how to color buttercream. I've already gone ahead and colored 3 different colors, but I'm going to show you with this bowl how to make it pink. Okay, so I use these Wilton gel colors. This one's called Rose. You can purchase these at the Bulk Barn, at Michael's. I think Canadian Tire and Party City has them as well. They're really good for not having to add a lot of food coloring to your buttercream or your fondant. They're really concentrated, so they just look like gel. Okay, so how I color buttercream is that I stick a toothpick inside the container and I make little marks inside. Okay, I always start with a little bit because you can always add more, you can't take away. So I add it in there and I basically just stir it up. And then I just keep stirring until it's completely mixed. Okay, and just that amount of color that we put in there already produced in a really nice pastel pink. So I don't think I'm going to add any more. If you were to add more, I would use a clean toothpick and just do the same step that I taught you on how to color this first step until you get the color that you want. Okay, so now that I have my 4 colors, I'm ready for piping. Before I do that, I guess I should show you the colors that I did use for these. So this is called teal, so it looks like this. This one is a lemon yellow. Okay, and these are all by Wilton. And then this one is a violet. With purple, you have to add a little bit more to it in the beginning because it turns out a little gray. The next step to our cupcake tutorial is how to pipe onto our cupcakes. So I'm going to take the blue and the yellow, and I'm going to start with rosettes. So just like how we practiced earlier, we're going to start just above the cupcake, adding a little bit of pressure, going around in a circle, and then letting go once we get to the point that we want. Again, a little bit of pressure, going around in a circle, and letting go. A little bit of pressure, going around in a circle, and then letting go. Okay, so I'm going to do the same with the pink and the purple on the opposite side. A little bit of pressure, going around in a circle, and then letting go. Okay, we might have to space these out a little bit. A little bit of pressure, circle. Whoop. Sometimes if you have buttercream on your piping tip, it'll stick, so we need to make sure our buttercream tip is clean. Okay, so a little bit of pressure, round in a circle, and let go. Okay? The next step I like to do is the stars. So these empty spaces here and all along here, I like to just fill it in randomly. So all those imperfections that you think you have, you can just cover them up from the other piping. Okay, so I can just add one there, add another there, here. Okay, we just want to fill our cupcake with the rest of the buttercream. Okay, so I'm going to do more pink here. And you just keep filling it on or around until you feel that it's covered completely. Okay. A little bit of pressure and let go. Super pretty. Again, you don't have to use all these colors either. You can just stick to one. White with pink is really nice too, but I thought I'd teach you how to make a multicolor so you can decide for yourself. Okay, so there you go. The next step for our unicorn tutorial is how to color these unicorn horns and unicorn ears gold. Okay, so we're going to use this product. I'm sorry it got blanked out when I was on the Big Bake. I was allowed to bring a few different colors of my choice, and they had to block out the name brand. So I will definitely get you the name brand of this with the list of all the materials and everything we've used at the end of this video. Okay, so it comes in a powdered form, and it is for decorative use only. So please don't put this directly on your buttercream that you are wanting to eat. If you are using it, I suggest taking that off before you eat your cake or your cupcakes. Okay, so I already mixed this into a liquid, and all you need to do is add a little bit of vodka to it. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of vodka. If you don't feel comfortable using vodka, you can use a lemon extract. That works just as well. So see? Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Okay? So all you do is mix it up. Okay? Again, you have to be careful too because the powder form gets everywhere. So be very careful when using it. Don't wear any good clothes. Okay? So you just want to keep mixing it up until it becomes a liquid. The alcohol does evaporate, so if you are using this for a long period of time, you'll have to keep adding a little bit of vodka for it to become a liquid form again. Okay? So now that we have gold on our paintbrush, it's time to paint our unicorn horn. So I use my paintbrush, and all we do is just paint it. And the thicker the gold paint is, the thicker it'll go on. Okay, so just keep painting. See how it comes to a really pretty gold? I find this gold works the best out of all the products that I've tried. It goes on really well, and it looks actually like gold. Okay, so I don't paint all the way to the end. I leave that part because it's going to be touching the cupcake. Okay, so you would do that to all your unicorn horns that you want to do. Top. Okay, so there you have that. It's painted a nice gold. Usually if you have some styrofoam or something like that, you can stick it into, but I forgot to get that, so I'm just going to place it here. Okay, so inside the unicorn ears, you paint. So again, a little bit on my my paintbrush. Keep saying toothbrush for some reason. And we're just going to go inside and just add a little bit of detail there. Don't rush it. I find a smaller paintbrush works best. You just cover the inside of the ear. Like so. Whoops. There you go. If you do get any gold on the outside, all you have to do is take a little bit of vodka and just wipe it off. Okay, so that is how you make gold inside your unicorn ear and the horn. This will take a little bit of time to dry, so we're going to put these aside, and then once they're dry, I'll show you how to put them onto our cupcakes. The last step to our unicorn cupcake tutorial is adding the horn and the ears. I forgot to mention earlier that I let the fondant dry for about 2 hours. If you are wanting to make a bigger unicorn horn for, say, on a cake, I would let it dry overnight, and I would obviously use a bigger dowel for the stability, okay? For the gold, I let it dry for about 1.5 hours. Alright, so I'm going to take these tweezers, take the bottom part of the toothpick, and the cupcake, I'm going to choose which side I like best. I think I like this side. And I'm going to stick it inside the cupcake, like so. And pull the tweezers away. And then I'm going to take one ear, place it right beside the horn, and then I'm going to take the other ear and put it right beside. Okay, I'm just going to turn it around to make sure I did this right. Yeah, there we go. So there you have your unicorn cupcake. You can always add some sprinkles to the rest of your cupcake if you want. You can leave them as they are. I like adding a little bit of sprinkles. Not in the ear though. Whoops. So there you have it. Unicorn cupcakes. So that is how you make unicorn cupcakes. Thank you so much for joining me, and make sure to check out the Youth Arts Week Self-Portrait Challenge that's happening all week. Go to Thunder Bay Culture and Events Facebook page for details on how to participate in that. Also, come back tomorrow for another fun activity from Kristen Wall of Gallery 33, who will be showing us how to draw a realistic self-portrait. Bye for now.